Imagine this for a second. The team is entering a crucial moment in the offseason. The quarterback situation is still a big question, and suddenly, a new possibility starts gaining attention around the league. It's the kind of move that could completely change the direction of the season. Some fans are excited, others are skeptical, but one thing is certain. If this decision happens, it could shape the future of the franchise. So the real question is, would you take that chance? Leave your opinion in the comments, and if you've been a Vikings fan for over 20 years, click the like button and subscribe to stay well informed. Something unexpected is starting to gain real traction around the Minnesota Vikings, and if you're a fan, this is the kind of development that could completely reshape the direction of the franchise heading into the next season. Over the last few days, serious conversations have begun circulating about a quarterback whose name many believed would never realistically enter Minnesota's orbit. But now the smoke is real. The conversations are happening behind the scenes, and the possibility is forcing the entire Vikings fan base to ask one simple question. What if Kyler Murray actually becomes the next quarterback in Minnesota? According to Vikings insider Alec Lewis, the organization is expected to have serious discussions this week about Murray. What makes this report particularly important is that Lewis made it clear Murray hasn't just suddenly appeared on the radar. The Vikings have already been monitoring him. The front office is looking for an experienced, productive, and reliable starter who won't destroy their salary structure. And Murray checks many of those boxes. And it doesn't stop there. NFL insider Ian Rappaport has also pointed out that Minnesota is one of the teams to watch when it comes to Murray's next destination. When two well-connected reporters, one deeply tied to the Vikings and another plugged into the entire NFL, are pointing in the same direction, fans should start paying attention. Even the betting markets are reflecting this possibility. According to DraftKings odds for Kyler Murray's next team, the Minnesota Vikings are currently listed as the favorite at 110, ahead of the New York Jets at plus 175, the Miami Dolphins at plus 320, the Cleveland Browns at plus 450, and the Atlanta Falcons at 500. That doesn't guarantee anything, but it shows how seriously the possibility is being viewed across the league. Now here's where the conversation becomes fascinating for Vikings fans. Last offseason, the organization made a massive decision at the quarterback position. They moved on from Sam Darnold and chose to put their faith in rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy. That decision reshaped the quarterback room entirely, and many believe the Vikings misjudged how that situation would unfold. The result was a season filled with uncertainty at the most important position in football, but now an unexpected opportunity might have fallen directly into Minnesota's hands. Kyler Murray, a former #1 overall pick, suddenly becoming available changes the entire landscape. From a talent standpoint, Murray has always been one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL. His mobility, arm strength, and ability to create plays outside the structure of the offense have made him one of the league's most electrifying players when healthy. And the financial side makes the situation even more intriguing. The expectation surrounding Murray is that he could sign a one-year deal worth around $1.3 million. For a quarterback with his pedigree, that kind of contract dramatically lowers the risk for a team like Minnesota. It becomes a short-term investment with potentially massive upside. Of course, the conversation isn't completely one-sided. The biggest concern surrounding Murray is his injury history. Over the last several seasons, injuries have repeatedly interrupted his availability. In 2025, he played only 5 games after suffering a Lisfranc midfoot sprain. In 2023, he appeared in just 8 games, while rehabbing from an ACL injury suffered the previous season. That earlier season also included a hamstring strain along with the ACL and meniscus tear. Even in 2021, he missed time with a grade 2 ankle sprain. That means in 4 of the last 5 seasons, injuries have played a significant role in his career. There's also criticism surrounding his deep passing numbers. Since 2022, Murray has ranked near the bottom of the league on throws of 25 yards or more, finishing last in completion rate, last in EPA per attempt, and last in yards per attempt at 7.5 on those deep passes. But supporters of Murray point to context. The offenses he operated in with Arizona relied heavily on quick throws and short passing concepts, essentially using the passing game as an extension of the run game. That system naturally limited the number of deep shots he took downfield. So the question becomes whether those numbers reflect Murray's limitations, or simply the system he played in. Another argument gaining traction is that the Cardinals organization failed to fully maximize his talent. Murray's head coaches during his time there were Cliff Kingsbury and Jonathan Gannon, and many analysts believe neither situation provided the stability or offensive structure needed for long-term success. Yet, despite those circumstances, Murray still managed to elevate the team. Since 2020, Arizona went 33-38 with Murray starting, but when he wasn't playing, the team collapsed to 5-25. That dramatic difference suggests just how much impact he had on the franchise while he was on the field. Now imagine placing that same quarterback inside the Vikings' offensive environment. Minnesota has one of the most respected offensive coaches in the league in Kevin O'Connell, a superstar wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, and a roster structure many believe is far stronger than what Murray experienced in Arizona. Analysts have already pointed out that Murray's skill set could work extremely well within Minnesota's bootleg and play-action concepts, allowing him to move outside the pocket and attack specific areas of the field with his natural playmaking ability. And there's one more layer that makes this story even more interesting. Years ago, long before he ever entered the NFL, Kyler Murray posted on social media about the Vikings being in the playoffs. It's a small detail, but moments like that sometimes resurface when a potential connection between a player and a team begins to develop. So now the Vikings are facing a fascinating crossroads. Do they take a chance on a former #1 overall pick with elite talent who might still have another level left in his career? Or do they stay committed to the long-term development of J.J. McCarthy and avoid bringing another high-profile quarterback into the building? Because if the reports are accurate, the conversations about Kyler Murray in Minnesota are only just beginning. And Vikings fans, this is where I want to hear from you. If the team truly has the opportunity to sign Kyler Murray this offseason, do you believe the Vikings should make that move? Or should they stick with the current plan at quarterback? Drop your opinion in the comments, because the debate around this situation is only getting started. Something big could be forming behind the scenes in Minnesota, and if everything that insiders are saying starts to connect, Vikings fans might soon witness one of the most intriguing quarterback experiments the franchise has attempted in years. Because when you really step back and examine the situation, the potential arrival of Kyler Murray in Minnesota isn't just another free agency rumor. It could represent a complete shift in how the Vikings approach the quarterback position moving forward. And one of the strongest arguments for why the Vikings are seriously evaluating Murray comes down to pure football infrastructure. Inside Minnesota's building, there is a belief that Murray's raw talent is undeniable. Evaluators see a quarterback who throws with accuracy, creates explosive plays, and has the ability to extend drives when a play breaks down. When you combine those traits with Kevin O'Connell's offensive philosophy, it becomes easy to envision how Murray could operate within the Vikings system. Boot concepts, play-action rollouts, and movement-based designs could allow him to get outside the pocket and focus on simplified reads while still threatening defenses with his legs. And that's where the conversation becomes extremely exciting for Vikings fans. Because Minnesota can offer something Murray rarely had during his time in Arizona: elite offensive support. First, there's Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. a true superstar who can change the geometry of the field every time he lines up. For a quarterback like Murray, who thrives when he has a dominant playmaker to target, that type of weapon could unlock an entirely different level of offensive production. We've actually seen something similar before. When Murray played with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona, the connection between the two was incredibly efficient. Murray threw 17 touchdowns targeting Hopkins compared to just 3 interceptions, and the passer rating on those throws reached 123.5. That kind of production shows what can happen when Murray is paired with a truly elite receiver. Now imagine that type of chemistry developing with Justin Jefferson. Add in Minnesota's offensive line improvements, the coaching structure, and O'Connell's quarterback-friendly scheme, and suddenly the situation looks dramatically different from what Murray experienced in Arizona. And the numbers suggest Murray still has high-level quarterback traits. During the 2024 season, one of the last stretches where he played a majority of the year, Pro Football Focus graded him as the 8th best quarterback in the NFL from a clean pocket. Even more impressive, he recorded 21 big-time throws compared to only 3 turnover-worthy plays, finishing with a 106.5 passer rating. Those numbers show that when Murray has protection and structure around him, he can operate at an extremely high level. And that's exactly what the Vikings believe they can provide. But there's another dimension to Murray's game that might intrigue Kevin O'Connell even more: improvisation. Because when a play breaks down, and every quarterback eventually faces that moment, Murray has the rare ability to turn chaos into production. His mobility remains elite, and even after several injuries, he still possesses the quickness to escape pressure, extend plays, and create opportunities that simply don't exist for most quarterbacks. That backyard football ability is something coaches can't teach. It's instinct, it's creativity, and in today's NFL, it's one of the most valuable traits a quarterback can have, which is exactly why some Vikings fans are already wondering if Murray might give the team its highest ceiling at the position. But while the Murray discussion grows louder, another name continues to circulate in quarterback conversations: Geno Smith. And this is where the debate becomes heated among fans. Some believe Smith could be a safe veteran option. Others see him as a temporary solution. But critics argue that bringing Smith to Minnesota simply doesn't make sense when you compare his long-term outlook to Murray's. Smith is already 35 years old, which limits how many seasons he realistically has left as a starting quarterback. Murray, on the other hand, still has the potential to become a long-term franchise quarterback if he returns to peak form. And that difference matters, because the Vikings' real objective isn't just finding someone who can start next season. The goal is finding the quarterback who can lead the franchise into the future. J.J. McCarthy might still become that player. Kyler Murray might still become that player. But Geno Smith almost certainly cannot. That's why some analysts see Smith and former Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins as essentially the same type of option at this stage of their careers. Experienced veterans who can stabilize an offense but may not offer the long-term upside teams are searching for. So when you zoom out and look at the entire situation, the Vikings appear to be weighing 3 possible directions. Option 1, take a chance on Kyler Murray's elite talent and hope the Minnesota environment helps unlock his full potential. Option 2, commit fully to J.J. McCarthy and allow the young quarterback to grow without competition from a veteran star. Option 3, bring in a veteran like Geno Smith as a short-term bridge. But if you listen closely to the growing conversation around the league, one thing becomes clear. Kyler Murray might be the most fascinating gamble of them all, because if Minnesota signs him and the experiment works, the Vikings could suddenly transform their offense overnight. And if it doesn't, the financial risk is minimal. That's why the possibility continues to gain momentum as insiders discuss the team's off-season plans. So now the real question belongs to you, Vikings fans. If the Minnesota Vikings truly have the opportunity to bring Kyler Murray to Minneapolis on a short-term deal, would you take that chance? Do you believe Murray could thrive with Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, and the Vikings offense? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed breaking down this developing story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next Vikings update. SKOL!